So this will be a quick look back at trigonometry. Remember we had our saying, Sakatoa, or like we said in class, some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid. And remember that tells us which trig function goes with which set of sides that are put together. So remember sine, the S, goes with OH, which would be opposite over hypotenuse. The A goes with adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent goes with opposite over adjacent. And remember, when we started to do this, we kind of had a three-step process. Step one, we would circle the angle that we were given. Step two, we would then label the sides. And then for step three, remember, we would realize x could be in one of three places. X could be in the numerator, right? X could be like where one of these three numbers is. And if that was the case, in order to solve that, we would, so x can be, so it can be in the numerator. And we multiplied to solve that one. X can be in the denominator, right? Like right here. And if that was the case, if x happened to be where the hypotenuse or the adjacent is for tangent, remember that if it was in the denominator, we would divide. Or x could also be in the parentheses, where the a is right there. And if it was in the parentheses, remember that's where we used the inverse. So when we use sine, cosine, and tangent, we can only do that for right triangles. Keep that in mind. So we look at this particular triangle. We're looking at the angle, what's called theta. So if we circle that, we've got opposite is 3. 4 is right next to it, which is adjacent. And then 5 is the hypotenuse. So sine, we're looking for opposite over hypotenuse, which would be 3 over 5. Cosine, remember we want adjacent. We caught another hippie. Adjacent over hypotenuse, you do 4 over 5. And then tangent, remember we want opposite over adjacent, so we do 3 over 4. So as we start solving for missing sides in these triangles, make sure that our calculator is in degree mode, right? And then, so we circle, x is opposite, 11 is adjacent. So with OA, we need tangent. You always put the angle in the parentheses. Oh, I'm about to write 74 backwards. So tangent of 74 equals opposite over adjacent. Since x is in the numerator, we're going to multiply. So you just type in your calculator 11 times tangent of 74. Again, make sure we're in degree mode. So in this particular case, 11 times the tangent 74 is 38.36. Circle number 47, x is opposite, and here 20 is the hypotenuse. So with OH, we use sine. 30 goes in the parentheses, so sine of 30 equals x over 20. X is in the numerator again, so we're going to multiply. 20 times sine of 30 equals x, and here x is going to be equal to 10. One more example here. We have opposite and adjacent here, which will again put us back to tangent. So we do tangent of 68 equals x over 13. Again, x is in the numerator, so we'll multiply. 13 times tangent of 68. And so 13 times the tangent of 68 puts us at x equals 32.18. 49 through 51, we're going to start solving for a missing angle. So we're still going to follow our same steps. Right? Go ahead and circle the angle. So x would be adjacent. 8 would be the hypotenuse. It's across from the right angle. So now we do cosine. We don't know the angle, so we'll put x in the parentheses. Do 5 over 8. Here, x is in the parentheses. We need to do the inverse. So in other words, we need to do second cosine, or arc cosine, of 5 over 8 equals x. So here, the cosine inverse of 5 over 8 equals 51.3. Circle here, 20 is adjacent. It's a little different look at it, but 22 is the hypotenuse. So here we go with a and h again, which means we have cosine of x equals 20 over 22. X is in the parentheses, so we need to do second cosine at a cosine inverse of 20 over 22, which means x equals 24.6. Circle the angle, we have opposite, and 42 is now the hypotenuse. So that means we need to use sine. X is in the angle. Then we do 35 over 42. Since x is in the angle, we need to do sine inverse, and then just in the parentheses, do 35 over 42. So here, x is sine inverse of 35 over 42, which is 56.4. And then make sure that we're good with these word problems, that you can set those up properly. So bird watcher, we'll see a bird at the top of a tree. So we can go ahead and draw our triangle. So we've got our bird up here. All right, here's your bird at the top of a tree. And the bird watcher is looking up. So there's the bird watcher, and it's 100 feet from the base of the tree. So we'll say this is our tree. So 100 feet from the base. He looks up at an angle of elevation of 45 degrees. That would be this angle here. Just as a heads up, angle, if you ever get angle of depression, that's the same thing as the angle of elevation. Simply because the angle of depression is the one that's not even inside the triangle. So the angle of depression right there is the same thing. So if you ever get a problem with angle of depression, you can just drop that angle into that same spot in the triangle every time. So we're looking for how tall is the tree. So there's where x is. So let's circle. X is opposite. 100 is adjacent. So we have tangent of 45 equals x over 100. So we multiply both sides. Right, it's in the numerators. X is in the numerator, so we multiply. And here, x will end up being 100. So it's a 100-foot tree.